this is Tiny Builders, and we are a four-person partnership. So you'll say, what's so important about tiny houses? So an average house costs about 185,000 through 422. You'll say, but a tiny house costs between 58,000. You'll say, why so much? Well, to get the material, it costs 25,000 plus building it. It's a lot of money, and also just to connect it to connect pipelines to the house is 2,200, and then connecting that pipeline to the home is another $800.
Of course, we don't really just focus on foundation. We can also do what's called tiny house on RV, meaning it is built on a trailer, so it is quite mobile. Of course, the cost will increase due to the fact that the RV trailer it does cost a good $18,000 to $20,000 plus the permits to be able to get the tiny house RV certified to be able to, on a road trip, go into RV campsites.
Okay, so you might be asking, what makes Tiny Builders so unique? Tiny Builders is really focused on causing a tiny impact on the environment as well as leaving a tiny hole in your wallet. And what we mean by that is by using green energy. And as for green energy, we have two methods in which we implement into the houses. We can either use solar power and wind power.
So basically, with green energy, not only does it reduce the cost of bills, it actually is existing to none, unless you use Arcadia power, which is the wind power. And so basically, the main thing we pride ourselves in is the fact that we're environmentally safe. I mean, basically, and so you can either use solar power. The panels cost $15,000, and we do have an engineer on site that will help install it. And we also have the wind power. We are partnered up with Arcadia Power to be able to give you, instead of having to use Reliant Energy, you'll be able to use Arcadia Power and use wind power instead of having to use the other methods. Of course, the main thing is that an average tiny house is between 186 square feet to 300 square feet, meaning you only use half of a logging truck. And also that means you in an average tiny house there's 6 light bulbs, and that only uses up 914 kilowatts per year compared to a regular house that uses up to 1,144 kilowatts per year. Not only that, but the main difference is when it comes down to the pounds of carbon dioxide that tiny houses make. A tiny house makes up to 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of CO2 compared to a regular sized house that makes about between
12,000 to 16,000 pounds of carbon dioxide emission.
That right there is a very big difference.
That is like at least an eighth of a fraction of the original carbon footprint by a normal house.
Okay. The dimensions of the house, the length will be around 20 feet, so this way. The width will be 8 feet, 9.2 if you want. Again, you can customize your house however you want it. And the height will be around 13 feet. So the reason why it might be a little bit too tall is because since we built the top part so we can make a bed, and we can put all the kitchen, the living room, the restroom down there. And the wind power will go on top. So this will be the wind power to save the energy.
Of course, it doesn't have to be a loft-style housing. We do pride ourselves in the fact that we know how to build a one-story tiny house. Let's say in case you happen to be elderly and don't want to climb stairs. And of course, a one-story house won't be cramped. In fact, it's very spacious. And not only that, but one-story tiny houses do offer the availability for families with small children to be able to live there. That way, the parents won't have to worry about the stairs. And of course, you might be wondering, what about other utilities? Let's say, is there a bathtub? Is there a washer and dryer? There is a washer and dryer. In fact, with the two-story tiny house, the washer and dryer is below the stairs, while in the one-story tiny house, the washer and dryer is next to the kitchen. That way, it provides an ease of access. Let's say you're washing dishes and you want to put clothes to wash. It's ease of access, and also it provides more space in the living room and in the bedroom.
Now, the investor might be asking, well, what's in it for the investor? We are asking for a loan of $410,000, and that's the startup cost. We are going to give the investors 30% of our profit, and so it'll take around a year and a half to pay them back the total investment. And not only that, that's at our minimum. If we produce more than the minimum, it'll actually take a lot less time to pay back the investor the $410,000. So in the first year, the investor will be making approximately $220,000, and by the third year, the investor will be making well over $300,000.
Of course, like Joseph said, that's at our minimum. Since we are the only company here in Houston, as well as one out of approximately 2 other companies in Texas, the possibility that we are going to be at our minimum is high, meaning we're going to exceed our minimum. So of course, the investor will be earning more money, and we will be able to help Houston. Of course, you're wondering, what about the tiny houses? Where are we going to build them? There are multiple lots here in Houston that are free, that are available, especially there's some near downtown. There's one thing people here in Houston want to do is either live in downtown to avoid traffic, or live within the city to have an ease of access to work. So with the lots, of course, if the customer or the client does want the lot, we will include it in the tiny house. Of course, the price will not be high, since there is such thing as tiny house communities, where instead of one person buys one huge lot, they can share with other tiny house members, and they can share the cost to pay off the lot, which also helps with the sewage and water.
Not to.
I'm sorry. Again, if you don't like the place where you live, we make these houses where you can take them anywhere. My partner said that we can get a permit, and actually to take these houses anywhere you want. Their houses are actually about 10,000 pounds, and any truck, like a pickup truck, could take it. If you want to go to the beach, and of course you have permission, you could go to the beach with your house.
Also, one of the resources that we use for the materials for the houses, we can do wood, plastic, aluminum. But if you want the house to be a less cheaper, we can do recycled stuff, which it gives a good vintage look to the house. But if you want to do an RVIA, it will be limited to wood.
And the investor might ask, well, how do I know for sure that this company is going to be a booming business and continue to make the profits that they say they're going to make? Well, as my partner Diana said earlier, we are one of only 2 companies here in Texas, and the only one that will be centralized here in Houston. And so that means that let me start off with saying that tiny houses is a booming trend. But however, since people have seen it as a new alternative of living, it's more than just a trend. It'll be going on for years. It's a more economically friendly as well as wallet-friendly alternative to an actual house. And so therefore, we are positive that not only will we be doing well as a company, we'll actually exceed expectations and possibly pay back the investor much more than what he invested.
Also, like my partner said, is that tiny houses are more than a trend. In fact, in cities, many people are downsizing their living to be able to afford, let's say, to buy a car, or afford to raise their children. In this case, they will not be paying an arm and a leg. In this case, it will be a regular sized house will cost about $220,000. Down payment is $58,000. Those $58,000 of down payment can easily go to pay off completely a tiny house. Meaning, you don't have to worry about mortgage. You don't have to worry about losing your house if you lose your job, because you already have your house. Not only that, but if the $58,000 also covers for solar panels, if you decide to use solar panels. In other words, let's say you can afford to pay your bills. You don't have to worry about electricity because you have electricity. And with water and sewage right now, it will be at a cheap price, since it is a tiny house, meaning you do not use as much water as a regular house does. So basically what we're saying is we are asking the investor to invest in us, because if there's one thing we are for certain, is that we'll be able to pay back the investor within 1.5 years at 30% of our profit, as well as be paying them within the third year about $320,000.